Well, there we go. We should be there. We should indeed. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Well, welcome to Affairs from the Hart. We are broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes in East Sussex. A very, very ancient hotel, or at least not ancient in about 500 years old, but certainly a historic hotel. And yesterday was the centre of, I suspect, the celebrations of Independence Day in the UK, with all sorts of interesting people in the studio here, and chatterboxes and people on the spot from New York. We had Suzanne Musso and we had Melissa Conti in New York. We had Mary from Ireland. We had two gentlemen, one from Washington, D.C. and the other from Brighton, but both sartorially dressed in pinstripes and ready to go into the Crown Court across the road to take a look at whatever cases were on. And all in all, we had a bit of a party. It was a good party. And I think that we celebrated in style with our American cousins, American friends, Independence Day. God bless us all. Thank goodness for us. Right, let's now take a look at the headlines, the front pages. The Daily Mirror is Johnson did know about Pincher. Pincher, of course, being Christopher Pincher, the former deputy chief whip, and I think he was a minister, and has now had to even give up being an MP because Pincher pinched the bottom of a couple of people at the Carlton Club in London when he shouldn't have, and all hell has broken loose. And all the do-gooders, all 650 do-gooders in Westminster are stamping their little feet and sort of saying, "Oh, disgraceful, dreadful, dreadful, dreadful." Well, the fact of the matter is they're all at it, and what they're hoping is to deter or defer any crossfire that might come their way. It is quite disgraceful. And personally, I would have the whole of Parliament. I would dissolve Parliament and get started again, and I would change the selection process. You know, we're in the woke era where we've got to have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And what's happening is we are getting the worst governance that we've ever had, and it's not down to Boris, nothing to do with him. It's that we've just got second-class and third-rate people in charge, not only of Parliament, but also of industry, of business, all sorts of things that. Something there. It's my collar. All sorts of people who should not be in the position that they are, and also an age, an era in which businesses have handed over to the computer the running of their business. Now that's crazy. That is suicidal, and it's proving to be that way. The economy is tilting into negative territory. Inflation is galloping. And what are people doing about it? Nothing, because they don't know how. The computer has never been taught how to handle some of these things. So as a consequence, it's punching out its old stuff without any attempt whatsoever to address the real problems. None at all. None at all. Right, okay, the I. Cabinet is angry at defending Johnson again. Yeah, well, I mean, the cabinet is, we've established, is mostly lightweights. They would. Goodness gracious me, look what the boss has been up to. No, we haven't got to defend him again. Well, on this one, I don't know why they should. What's he done? It was one of his whips who has been a naughty boy. Nothing to do with Boris. Oh, but we will defend him to the death. And we won't defend him to the death. We're getting a bit fed up with the scandals that are coming out of Boris's, but they are self-inflicted scandals. They are scandals that you as our leaders have created. Get a grip. Start leading. The country is beginning to crumble. And those of us who simply get on with a little job, like this one, but also somebody who works in the bakery, recognizing what's happening in the world and what's happening in the country. But do you? No, you're in your ivory tower and all worried about a bottom pinching chief or deputy chief's whip. It's not good enough. Get a grip. Get on with running the country. If you want to then be whiter than white, by all means do, but do that on your own time, not on ours. And also, remember the adage, he who is without guilt cast the first stone. Oh, I'd love to be in Westminster to see that. The Guardian, Parliament urged to act over sexual abuse claims. Right, it says that the Government Employees Union has written to the Speaker of the House saying, we've had enough of all this scandal. Well, if it's them that brings it on, I would have thrown the bloody ice cake that started all this, Boris's ice cake, through the window long ago. Have they? No. Now licking the icing off the bloody cake. So excited does all this get them. Resign. Let's start again. Because it isn't working. And why isn't it working? Because of you. There's nobody else to blame. You. The Daily Telegraph. Starmer clashes with party on Brexit. Keir Starmer has changed Labour policy and has decided that now we should make Brexit work. Oh, talk about a hornet's nest. If you want to stir up a hornet's nest, what you do is you say that you support Brexit as a member of the Labour Party. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Here's my baby. Metro, Britain on a go slow. Now, Priti Patel has got involved in this. You know, I rather like Priti Patel. I know that most people say, "Oh, there's another right-wing approach to things," but actually, it's only right-wing in the sense that everybody else is left-wing. She comes up with sensible suggestions. Now, apparently, the motorist organisations and drivers' organisations and organisations are going around the motorways and the main arteries, driving slowly to disrupt everything. Give me strength. What's that going to prove? Well, we're protesting. What are you doing? Protesting is not, that's a side issue. What are you doing to make our society better? What are you doing to help us get back on the track? What are you doing to try and help make the economy work? Not make the economy not work. It is not good enough. And what Priti Patel is saying is, I'm going to throw them all into jail. Well, that's what I should do. And not only that, but I've given the police enough powers to do so, and they're not. Oh, what a surprise. So the Metro, Britain on a go slow. The Daily Mail says, Priti, arrest the protest mob. Well, why not? You know, the thing is that all these protesters and so on normally represent about 2% of the population. So that's 98% of us who are affected. I would suggest that in a civilized society, if you've got 98% of people that you need to represent, that those people who are so-called public servants would represent them and not let them get away with whatever it is that they're doing that disrupts our daily lives. Well, you want to bet Mr. Kipling's cakes won't be available soon because they can't get down the motorway that a mob has got. Sorry, something flashed up on the screen there. I was trying hard to decipher it. They really are doing very little to be positive and to help us out of our problems. And I keep on saying, we're at war. And nobody is bothering to even tell us what's going on anymore. And yet, there's a man who is still in charge of a major nation that is the aggressor in a war on the Ukraine and who is capable of anything. He is. Okay. Where's my assessment? Well, I've spent a lot of time in Russia. I even set up one of their television services. I have a little bit of semblance of what he's all about. Right. Okay. The Times follows on with that. Get tough with petrol protesters. Police are told. That's the echoing. The Financial Times. Massive disruption predicted as national train drivers strike looms. Right. Well, here's another. The unions are all. They sense the fact that the people in Westminster, the 650, have lost the plot. So they very cleverly, having waited for quite some time to strike while the iron is hot, see the iron is hot and are ready to strike. The train drivers are in the forefront. There are lots of others who are beginning to strike as well. I mean, God help us when barristers decide to strike. What has the country come to? Sure as I wouldn't want one of them defending me. The Daily Express, a national supporter of the government. Boris, tax cuts of £330 for 30 million people will ease tough times. No, it won't. First of all, it's a tax cut, so you won't see the money. You just won't actually have it go into the government's coffers. And £330 nowadays is two payments on a loan that you took out in better times. Where do these people come from? Now, I saw another little thing that came up on a survey, is that people earning between £90,000 to £100,000 apparently think that they're the average. No wonder we get all these daft things. £90,000 to £100,000. And what's the national rate, the minimum rate? £10 per hour, a little over. £10 per hour. You work it out. Between £90,000 to £100,000 being average, and the minimum wage. When will we start to understand that you can't legislate for those people who think that they're average at £90,000? Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. The Sun. All right, well, they've gone to a bit of scandal, but at least they've left Jeremy Pincher alone. The premier star in a 3 a.m. rape arrest. Now, he's only been arrested, so it hasn't been named, or the club, or anything about him. Although I'm quite sure that the rumours will be circulating amongst social media as to who it is and which club it is. But the Sun has decided that that's its front page. And the Star, oh, that good old Star. I just love this Star. Is Puff Doody. It says, what its story is, its headline story is, hard up smokers are turning to fake fags filled with insect eggs, fungi, and even poo. Oh, dear. I don't know where they get these things from. But anyway, those are the headlines. And, if they don't make you smile, nothing should. But by the same token, we also must take seriously the fact that the economy and actually our civil society, as it's so called, although there's a lot that isn't civil about it anymore, but our civil society is out of control. It's crumbling around the edges and nobody is doing anything about it. They're stamping their little feet over scandal in Westminster. Stop stamping. Well, why don't you actually give in? Why don't you actually all en masse resign? Why don't we go to the country again? And this time, try hard not to follow the silly nonsense the political parties have got us into. And that's local as well as national. They actually, the political parties throw up the deadbeats, the deadweights. But because they're all in the bubble, I talk to sensible people. I say, well, he knows what he's doing. What he means is that he knows his way around the forms and the systems that are in governance. It doesn't mean to say that they are any good at it, because they're not. All they're good at is spouting out how wonderful they are and how wonderful their party is. Well, they're not. You don't need much of an examination of any of our councillors, MPs, political parties. Scratch the surface, and what have you got? A very shallow type of governance. Very shallow. And it's not good enough. Not by far. Right. I've shouted myself raw. It's about time that what we did was we went down to our equivalent of the potter's wheel. This calms everybody down. Well, there we are. That is just a lovely, lovely Southover Grange Park. And those people who are bemused when I say that we're going to our version of the potter's wheel is I'm really referring back to the early days of broadcasting, when nobody quite understood what the details of broadcasting should be like. The Americans have been doing it for some time. We were brand new to it. So we would make programs of 37 minutes, or an hour and 10 minutes. And then when they were put together, there were great gaps. And so a little intermediary was born. And one of those that is remembered with some fondness is the potter's wheel. And all we saw for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes was a lump of clay being forged into a pot, going around on a potter's wheel. And it kept us amused until the next program started. One of the other things that is a potter's wheel was London to Brighton in 4 minutes. And they put a film camera in the front of a train leaving Victoria and going down to Brighton. And they then speeded up the camera so that the hour-long journey took 4 minutes. And it was fascinating, fascinating to see this train traveling at great speeds through all the stations and sidings and so on and so forth, down to Brighton in 4 minutes. Now, most people had forgotten that, but the other night, somebody dug into the archives from one of the stations, I'm not sure which one it was, and showed the potter's wheel from 1953, I guess, 52, 53. But also, somebody had remade it in 1983, and they showed that as well, side by side. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And what's more, they made 4 minutes. The trains pulled up alongside one another in Brighton Station. So the Southover Park is our potter's wheel. When we need a little break, either from because our tonsils are getting sore, or the roof of our mouth is beginning to dry out, or whatever, we are remembering how the potter's wheel would fill little gaps. And because we're an unusual type of television, we have the same problem. Not that it's a problem, but we have gaps. Our programs don't fit together neatly in a puzzle as they do on the BBC or on ITV or on any of the other stations that now broadcast. We have bits and pieces where we say, okay, what do we do here? The potter's wheel. it's the park, Southover Grange Park, that we show, and rather proudly, because it's a lovely, lovely park, and the Grange itself is much a part of English history, not least of which is, most people don't know, that a royalist force during the English Civil War set out from Chichester to take Lewes. And since Lewes was the major town, Brighton virtually didn't exist, and neither did Eastbourne. We were the biggest town. They aimed at the Southover Grange because the people who were there, the Newtons, were prominent Republicans. They were prominent Cromwellians, and that's where the Royalists felt that they needed to get a grip. They were actually beaten back at the Battle of Haywards Heath. Yeah, the Battle of Haywards Heath. There was actually a Battle of Haywards Heath in the English Civil War. Most people think of it as just a station where you get on off trains. Not a bit of it. The history of Haywards Heath is as interesting and as varied as the history of Lewes. And it has its own battle, the Battle of Haywards Heath. Actually, it was Munster Green, which is the little park now as you go into Haywards Heath. That's Munster Green, and that's where the battle took place, and where the Royalists were put to fight. And Lewes was, quote, saved. So there you go. That's what that's all about. Right, where are we now? We should look at the time. It's 10:06 on the 5th day of July in the year 2022. And outside, it's creeping towards 21, possibly 22 degrees today. A little bit of cloud here and there, but generally speaking, a nice day and a very gentle breeze. So the sort of day that you can go out and enjoy. And why not? Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. That is if you can get over all the nonsense that we've got in the front pages of their newspapers. Right. Let us all with one accord, as they say. Just go now. And what we're going to do is play our very first program on Mirador from a number of years ago, but the second part. We played the first part. Let's go and take a look at the second part. there's been a few new additions to the town over the summer.
Whole raft of new eating and sleeping places cropped up in Lewes over the summer. Most of them were in cliff, but is at the top of the town on the high street. So far, I've only been in for a cup of coffee, but they've been very welcoming, and I suppose that it looks as if it'll do very well. Give it a try. Then there is Aqua at the bottom of the town, attached to the Premier Inn, also new. I've been in there as well, and they were equally as welcoming, and didn't mind that I just popped in for a cup of coffee and not a full meal. But Fuego is something else. I've only looked in through the front door. It's a new concept, of course, of cafe bar. Not new in the continent, I suppose, but not terribly frequent over here. And I haven't been in there because I'm a bit afraid I might go for the bar rather than the coffee. But one day I'll give it a chance. Anyway, some places new in Lewes over the summer and places for you to try.
I'm here in the village of Charleston, a charming, picturesque British village with a population of 500.
That's not Charleston, Keith. This is Charleston, South Carolina. A charming, picturesque village with a population of 120,000 in the United States.
What about this town, Boston? 120 miles north of London in England. Population, 35,000.
That's not Boston. This is the real Boston. Boston, Massachusetts, population 4 million.
What about this lovely little city, York? I suppose you Yankees have one of those too.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the new and improved York.
Now here's one you can't beat, London. That's London in England. Population, 8 million.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Join us for a journey to different cities with the same name.
A new show comparing big American cities with the small British and European towns that share the same name.
We never should have let you win that little war, Melissa.
Actually, Keith, we beat you at 2 little wars.
What's in a name?
Coming soon to public television.
This was what the prison looked like when the British Admiralty bought it to house the prisoners of war.
So they bought the prison and they made many adaptations to it. One of them, interestingly, they took the doors off the cells.
Good for freedom of movement, but not so good for privacy. The doors survive in the local museum, all that remains of the prison's interior. The prisoners were separated. The enlisted men, mostly Finns, Swedes and a few Ireland Islanders, were put into the prison, 3 to a cell. But it was a different situation for the Russian officers.
The officers, very different case. They were billeted out amongst the gentry families of the town and surrounding areas, not just Lewis. They had freedom of movement, they had freedom of association, and they generally joined in, if you like, middle to gentry class society. So we have an account, for example, of the officers being very popular dancing partners at local balls because they could waltz so much better than Englishmen. There we go.
Not all the Russians lost themselves in the pleasures of the waltz. Many, like Gun.
He sat on the bank, while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewis is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague, the Black Death. Gardens, very soothing, and Lewis has lots of them.
900. Actually, in our flight guide, we show 650 meters, but there's a 235 meter overrun, so we're up to nearly 850 or so meters. We only permit single-engine aircraft. We don't allow helicopters to come in, and we don't allow twins to come in, and that's largely from a noise point of view. We're very conscious that we don't want to annoy our neighbours in the local villages, the 3 villages that are sort of up at the western end of the airfield, as it were. There's nothing down at the eastern end, but Swanborough village, Iford village, and Rodmell, and Kingston to a certain extent. We want to keep that.
What are the restrictions? Presumably you don't have night flying or any of that?
We don't have night flying. We don't have teaching. We don't have any flying for monetary gain on the war. The time we did it was 2 years ago. You've been asked several times by the villagers when are you going to have another open day? Unfortunately, we've picked a day which is not very clement in terms of the weather. But out of that, we like to think we strengthened the relationship with the villages because we took ultimately we took children flying and doctors flying and village people, so quite a few of them have had flights with us
All fixed up?
Yeah, also important.
and we think that's important because we like to think that the airstrip and the aero club is an integral part of the community.
So you place your foot to assess the tension and convince yourself to continue knowing it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But when she's high, she's a skywalker. Doesn't matter. Just focus your mind on the wire ahead. It doesn't matter. It's a long way down. Long way down. What a spectacular performance. Though there will be no net for her. Such a spectacular performance. Who's going to break her fall this time? Oh, Skywalker this time. Oh, Skywalker. But when she's high, she's a Skywalker. Skywalker. Just focus your mind on the wire ahead. It doesn't matter. Skywalker. Balancing high above the world tonight. Skywalker again. Oh, again.
Well, there you are. That is a program that we did a couple of years or so ago. There are one or two, obviously, things have changed. They do, but generally speaking, most of it is as was. And that which is changed is now changed for the better, I think. One of the restaurants isn't there anymore, but it's being taken over, and one is about to open. And all in all, that gives us a fair reflection of what our life was like just before lockdown. And there were lots of interesting things going on. And some of the organizations that do make a fine contribution to life in Lewis are still going, is a lot of the bits and pieces that were done by volunteer groups and so on have disappeared, and that's sad. It's sad. One thing that hasn't disappeared is the raft race, which will take place on the 31st of July, and hopefully we'll be there to cover it and to bring the action to you. And all in all, we are just carrying on regardless, as they say. Now, we were expecting Fergus Wood this morning, but he... because he is a small businessman, he sometimes gets caught up with making money, as indeed he should. and isn't able to join us. But we hope to regularize that a bit in the coming weeks. We are going to take a holiday from, I think it's about the August the 17th to the 27th or something like that, the mid 2 weeks in August anyway. Most of you will be away, but we could do with a break. We've been going at it night and day for almost 12 months now. We've been in here in the White Hart Hotel from April the 15th, and 3 months has slipped by. And although we've had a few hiccups along the way, we are slowly getting it right. And yesterday really was an absolutely brilliant day, absolutely brilliant. We had more guests in the studio, and diversity. If you want to talk about diversity, boy, we had it in ear right up to the ears, and a lot of fun with it as well. In fact, some of our people have come back today and sent emails and said, "Hey, gosh, this is the sort of thing that we signed up for." So, generally speaking, what I should do is just bring you up to date with the front pages of the newspaper. Those who haven't seen a newspaper this morning, and incidentally, it is 10:39 on the 5th of July 2022. This is Mirador Television in the White Hart Hotel, broadcasting from the White Hart. A super place, absolutely super place. And just such an interesting mixture of people that go through this hotel. And occasionally we've managed to snaffle some of them and say, "Hey, come on in and be interviewed on television." And they've been gracious and they've done it. And we've met some very interesting people, and we'll continue to do that. It is based on a new type of television. Is people wander in and out on the set, as it were. We don't say no. And if they want to come and talk over our shoulder or sit down and be interviewed, we don't mind in the least. We get the girls who look after the front desk at the hotel on from time to time early in the morning, where they peer over our shoulder and we say hello to them, because they are just lovely and very welcoming. So that's where we broadcast from, the White Hart Hotel. Now, we probably will finish broadcasting this morning at 11 o'clock, but that still gives us another 20 minutes. So what we'll do is let me just bring you up to date, and I'm not even going to look and tell you which paper is which. But broadly, the Christopher Pincher scandal continues to dominate some newspapers. A tax relief of 300 and some odd pounds from Boris is trumpeted by the Express and I think the Mail. We have got bits and pieces about other things on the front pages, but mostly it's the scandal, or Keir Starmer changing direction with the Labour Party, so they are now supportive of Brexit and not anti. Of course, that has created absolute mayhem in the ranks of the Labour Party. Can't have that. Goodness gracious me, no. Who is this man who thinks he's leader? Well, this man who thinks he's leader is trying to make them electable. And of course, it's the activists that make sure they don't, because actually probably most of them would prefer to see democracy at least diluted, if not done away with altogether in our society. Right, okay, I've done a lot of talking and so on and so forth. So let's just go very quickly to our potter's wheel. Okie dokie. What we should do now is take a little moment to give you a bit of history, but a cheeky history, indeed. So here they come, the Sackville Ghost.
Mickleham Priory is near Lewes. It was a former Augustine 13th century monastery. The main building has been preserved, but the church was pulled down by Henry VIII. The monks there had a reputation for naughtiness. Ghostly figures of monks are often seen walking the grounds. Stories of orgies and chasing the girls in the local village were legion. The priory became a private residence. One of its occupants was Sir Thomas Sackville, who lived there in the late 1500s. He was, by all accounts, a nasty bit of work. His ghost is said to bully the other spirits, as well as unsuspecting mortals. It must be true, I felt him kick me.
Well, there we are, the Sackville Ghost, and actually Mickleham Priory as well, with its striking distance. So if you're new to Lewes, it's somewhere to go. They do have some very interesting walks and talks and things in the grounds. It is well preserved, and it always reminds me of the Carmina Burana when the naughty monks were there. There was apparently in the entrance or the driveway leading up to the priory at one time a pub. And the monks would spend more time in the pub than they would in the priory. And certainly that added to their reputation for being naughty and people that, generally speaking, the villagers preferred to get rid of. But the church was very powerful in those days. But it also did get concerned about its own. And they had numerous investigations into the goings-on of the monks, and then, of course, everybody would they would sack a prior or an abbot, and then bring in a new one, and then he would get corrupted, and then they would sack him again. But after all, if times were that good in an age when hunger could not necessarily make friends with anybody, is if you got a good life, you kept it, kept on it. So that is Mickleham Priory, just outside Lewes. Right, where are we now? We are we are at 10:47, and I think that one of the issues that well, I don't know. It's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, and that is the back pages, because one way or another, the particularly in the cricket, is England are doing quite well, quite well. Whether they'll do well on this last day, I think actually play starts in about 6 minutes' time. It remains to be seen, but they've held their head up with pride, and I don't think that we can knock them if, in fact, they stumbled at this last hurdle. But let's hope that they keep up what they've been doing, and they see themselves home with the runs that they need, which are less than 200. So the way that they were knocking the ball about, or have during this Test series and the last Test series, is certainly something to be pleased with. The tennis, there has been an interesting and intriguing Wimbledon, which carries on this week, I believe. I haven't been following it terribly closely myself, but some of the newcomers are doing quite well, and some of the old favourites are still in there shouting. Djokovic is there. Somebody called Sinner. And Boffin, oh dear old Boffin, and Norris, all in the quarterfinals. Barin, Kyrgios, Fritz, and Nadal. Well, there are one or two known names there. This names known to me. The football is all got its knickers into a twist over Ronaldo, and since I often think that there should be a page that puts sport, or at least particularly football, into the business section, not the sporting section, it's quite often leaves me cold as to what's going on. So Ronaldo's saga throws a spanner in the works. Is apparently he's stamping his little feet about something, and this is causing shockwaves throughout the football world. There's a English, not English, women's football is beginning to grow in popularity. Women's football, in fact, women's sports, there's a traditional men's domain, actually bringing us some good relief in terms of sporting prowess. Eddie Jones has lost the use of Tom Curry in the tour of Australia. I haven't really been keeping up with that, and I should. I'm a naughty boy. And then we get to world shares slump over the cash crunch fears, and it's funny how the sports do lead into the business pages. But shares in AO World hit their lowest level in over 2 years after reports it is facing a cash crisis. The white goods and electronics retailer is slumped on the market, and I'm a bit surprised. They all should slump on the market. The gung-ho era of private equity deals is drying up, apparently. Alex Brummer in the Mail is saying, watch out for these. Suburbs send Pret back into the black. Pret-a-Manger, which had a bit of a tough time. But it looks as if it's regaining its form. And cash-strapped Britons are turning to pawnbrokers. Pawnbrokers are having a heyday, a comeback. People are taking their jewels, gargoyles, and all their bits and pieces to try and realize cash, even on a temporary basis. And the pawnbrokers are getting busier and busier and busier. Pawnbrokers almost ceased to exist for a while, but then they came roaring back when times get tough. All the things that people bought while they had money go back into the pawnbroker. A private equity raid, apparently. The UK Power Network was raided, apparently, by a private equity firm. It must be making money, ha ha ha. Apparently, well, anyway, the private equity group wanted to buy it, and they failed at the last minute. And the other thing is that the EasyJet boss, who is being said to be responsible for flight chaos, has quit EasyJet. So there's another vacancy. It's just so easy to quit, is it not? Is it not? Is it not? Let's see. The UK steps up its sanctions against Putin ally Belarus. New measures include a ban on iron and steel imports. This only contributes to us at home getting worse and worse deals. It may be hammering away at the overseas supporters of Putin, but it ain't doing us much good either. Let's see. Now the Scouts bosses outlaw dinner ladies and mankind. What's that all about? Scout chiefs have been accused of woke language policing after banning terms such as dinner ladies, Christmas names, and mankind. Oh, for goodness sake. No wonder. Everything is being eroded at the seams, eroded at the base. Inquest to probe Betfair. Apparently, a lot of people who get into debt on gambling commit suicide. Didn't know that. But now good morning. And the betting firms are failing to learn from their tragedies and carry on in the old way, and people commit suicide, apparently, if they get into debt. Let's see. No, the rest of the pages are taken up with. Huge airport queues still spark fears of holiday meltdown because we are coming into the holiday period now. A minister's told to get a grip before schools break up in 2 weeks. Schools break up in 2 weeks' time, and everybody's going to go on holiday. And the airport queues are still horrific. There's another go at the 999 calls. I'm a little bit surprised. And oh dear, Steve Wright loses his Radio 2 slot. So what they're saying is they're accusing the BBC of ageism over the terrible decision to axe Steve Wright's Radio 2 afternoon slot. We have got a wide spectrum of people on this program, on this television station, coming down from a couple of us. Well, I think I'm the oldest, is 83 or 82, down to an 18-year-old. And we don't care. What we want are people who are enthusiastic, are skillful, and can turn out a decent product. And to hell with how old they are. And it's all a bunch of nonsense. And the BBC should give into it. Just shows how shallow that organisation has become. Mind you, it was also a very difficult organisation. It was never catered to the norm. What are the main movers and shakers to get rid of Boris and to start a leadership campaign has been Jeremy Hunt. But it now appears that they've taken an internal poll and that Hunt would lose a leadership to every one of his rivals. All Tory member poll finds that he's bottom of the heap. I'm not sure how anybody else fares. Right, Ben Wallace is 72%. Well, he's fairly high profile, I suppose, because of the war. Penny Mordaunt, 63%. Zawi, 60%. Liz Truss, 59%. Rishi Sunak, 55%. Badenoch, don't know him, 52%. Steve Baker, 48%. And Tungandat at 42%. Many of them, well, there are a couple there who are high profile, but the rest are also Rands, as far as I can see. And Jeremy Hunt is he doesn't stand up at all well against any of them. So there you are. Be careful what you wish for. All right. Okay. We are at 10:59. Right. Where does it all go? Where does the time go when you're having fun? Let's one more visit to our own potter's wheel. Okay, that's us for today, this Tuesday. We've gone down memory lane. We've taken a look at some of the things that we did that were okay and some that weren't. Unfortunately, we didn't have Fergus this morning with his wine roundup, but we'll hopefully have him back as we go into our holiday period and we come out with a lot more. Oh, there's the beautiful Shannon. And the beautiful Shannon is going to join us on the Mirador team to do her own little program, which is absolutely superb. Come and say hello, Shannon. Come over my shoulder. Look, there we are, you see. A beautiful lady who is going to be seen on your screens. And she is full of bubble. Yeah. And there we go. That's a good way to end the program at 11:01 on the 5th of the 7th, 2022, with the temperature outside hitting 21, 22, a little bit of overcast, not a lot, and no rain. So that's it from us for today. Now, tomorrow it is Max and Stuart with mostly energy, but also looking at everything else that's happening in the world. And then on Thursday, we will be back to our normal stuff. We have lost temporarily our good colleague Andrew Sloan. His mother is very ill in Cornwall, and he's having to dash backwards and forwards. I went in to see him the other day, and he was very crestfallen. So we send him our best wishes. And also to those people who would know that one of my very best friends, a great journalist, Graham Adcock, passed away on the weekend. And he will be not only to me a huge loss, he was always a great friend and a supporter of what we were trying to do. But also he was a man of great humor and of great talent. He built his own empire. And many of his documentaries you will see on mainstream television without realizing you're watching them. So rest in peace, Graham. God bless you. And your friendship was something that was awe-inspiring, but without equal. So death, I suppose, is something that comes to us all. And it's the older you get, the more it surrounds you before it comes to you personally. So let's remember those people who made such a massive contribution and who pass away, and that whom we tend then to forget. Let them be remembered for all the good things that they did. Until tomorrow. To the